So our facts are George Washington, he didn't like to wear a wig, so he would powder his hair. He had 2 horses shot out from underneath him. We learned John Adams, as a young boy, would skip school. Not a good idea. Thomas Jefferson was given 2 bear cubs from Lewis and Clark. He always kept a little piece of paper and pencil in here so he could write down good ideas. James Madison was only 5 feet 4 inches tall. He was the first president to wear long pants. James Monroe. Well, as you can see, he liked to dress in the revolutionary style. John Quincy Adams. Adams was given an alligator as a gift, and we know where he kept it, in the bathtub. In the bathroom, in the bathtub, so when people would come over, they would get a little scared. Andrew Jackson, he had a hot temper. He had 100 fights. He also had a bullet lodged close to his heart. Martin Van Buren. This is where we get this from. His nickname was Old Kinderhook, so that he would say like this, okay. He had 2 pet tiger cubs. Oh, William Henry Harrison. He was only president for 32 days. He refused to wear a coat or a hat in the freezing weather, and he caught pneumonia. John Tyler. He liked to play the violin, like Sienna's sister Sadie. James K. Polk. He said, you are not allowed to dance at the White House. No dancing. I think I'd be kicked out. Zachary Taylor. After 4th of July party, he was eating a bunch of cherries, and then he drank some milk, and he got real ill with a stomach ache. And within 5 days, he passed. They think he had a combustible stomach, or the cherries might have been poisoned. Millard Fillmore was working as a fisherman, and he got captured by pirates, but don't worry, they captured the boat back and hung those pirates in Boston. Franklin Pierce was the first president to put up a Christmas tree. Yay! Buchanan was never married, and he liked to have parties that were mashed potatoes and sauerkraut. Abraham Lincoln. Well, a little girl wrote to him and said, if you grow a beard, you would look so much more handsome. And another fun fact is he would keep his mail in his hat. Andrew Johnson, he never attended school, and so a customer taught him how to read at the tailor shop that he was working at. Ulysses S. Grant. His real name is Hiram, but he didn't like that name because his initials spelled hug, so he dropped it. Rutherford B. Hayes. He got a telephone, and his phone number was 1. That was perfect timing, wasn't it? James Garfield. He could write with the right hand and the left hand like Jonah does. When he was shot by an enemy, the doctors could not find the bullet, so they asked Alexander Graham Bell, could you make a metal detector? He did, but they couldn't find it because when they took him off the bed, they figured out the bed had metal springs. Go figure. Chester Arthur, he's our president that owned 80 pairs of pants. Grover Cleveland, really his first name is Stephen. Grover Cleveland was the first president to have a baby born in the White House, a little girl, and they named her Ruth. And a chocolate bar was named after her, Baby Ruth. Benjamin Harrison, we always do this because he's got like this crazy looking thing going here. The first president in the White House to have electric lights, but his family and him were afraid to touch it, so they had everybody who was helping in the White House turn lights on and off. William McKinley. William McKinley had a parrot named Washington Post who could whistle Yankee Doodle Dandy, but his wife hated the color yellow. She ripped everything out. She got rid of everything that was yellow. McKinley was shot, but there was an x-ray machine close by, but they didn't know how to use it. Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt had his daughter got a little snake, and she named it Emily Spinach. I love that. On a hunting trip, his team tied a bear to a tree for the president to shoot, but he did not shoot it. So a couple heard this story, and they made him a teddy bear. And now we all have teddy bears. We call him Big Bill Taft. William Taft. He was 332 pounds. He actually got stuck in the bathtub. He was uncomfortable sitting in his chair at the baseball game, so during the 7th inning, he stood to stretch, and everybody stood to stretch, and now we all stand to stretch. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Big Bill. We love you. You're awesome. I love 7th inning stretches. Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. Warren G. Harding. He lost all the china in the White House playing poker. Calvin Coolidge. We always do this because he's silent Cal. He didn't like talking on the telephone. He also had a lot of animals. I have to read them because I can't remember them. Ready? Dogs, cats, raccoons, a donkey, a bobcat, birds, a bear, an antelope, a wallaby, a pygmy, hippo, and some lion cubs. He had a zoo. Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover was orphaned at 9. And he was a millionaire by the time he was 38. Okay, he was worth over $4 million. Woo! His son Alan had 2 pet alligators. Franklin D. Roosevelt. Every time he was taking a nap, he didn't like that the airplanes would fly over, so he banned them. They were not allowed to because they disturbed his sleep. Harry S. Truman. He would always say, the buck stops here. And the S is actually his name. Dwight Eisenhower. He loved to play football, but in college he hurt his knee, so he became a cheerleader. Woo! Go, go, go. We say JFK, John F. Kennedy. One leg was shorter than the other, and he was our youngest president. Lyndon B. Johnson. Are you ready? His dog was Little Beagle Johnson. That's LBJ. His wife was Lady Bird Johnson. That's LBJ. His daughter was Linda Bird Johnson. That's LBJ. And his other daughter was Lucy Baines Johnson. LBJ. And he was Lyndon B. Johnson. LBJ. I love that one. Richard Nixon. He was our first president Nixon was the only president to resign from office. Nixon got to meet Elvis Presley at the White House. They probably don't know who Elvis Presley is, right? Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford's middle name was Rudolph. How cool is that, huh? He was a very good football player. Jimmy Carter owned a peanut farm. He was a speed reader. Ronald Reagan was an actor and a lifeguard. He saved like over 70 people he rescued. His favorite candy is jelly beans. George H. Bush. He became the youngest pilot in the Navy. He was shot down but rescued by a submarine, and he refused to eat broccoli. Bill Clinton. He was in a band called Three Blind Mice, and he played the saxophone. This is George W. Bush. So that was the dad, George H. Bush. Now George W. Bush. He loves baseball. He became a part owner of the Texas Rangers. Barack Obama likes basketball, so they called him the Obama. He also read all of the Harry Potter books. And then our president today is called Donald Trump, and he likes wrestling. So we had a baseball, basketball, and a wrestling. He's a billionaire businessman, and he has a board game called the Trump Game. Wow. So those are some fun facts that we've learned in kindergarten.